Hey everyone, welcome to the Democracy Brewing Podcast. I'm Tom Costanzo, and I have with me a very special guest. I have Gerik Maverick. Hey Gerik, how you doing today?
I'm doing very well. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. So you're running for Michigan State House 37th.
Yes.
All right. Tell me about your district.
Yeah, so the 37th House District is Niles to Three Oaks to a little bit of Baroda, Berrien Springs, Eau Claire. It's a pretty, like a square right next to Representative Joey Andrews' district, who kind of has the lake shore. Um, yeah, it is a pretty diverse area in terms of political opinion. It's been an area that I think there's been a lot of opportunity for folks to organize and to grow a more progressive movement. And I'm really excited to continue to serve the people of the 37th House District as somebody who has done advocacy for the last several years and potentially serve now as a elected official.
That's really cool. So you have a very, like you said, a very diverse district.
Mhm.
You've got, um, I'm in Berrien
Yeah.
County, not far, so I'm in Joey's district. But tell me about what you're hearing in your district from your constituents, potential constituents, and how you align with what you're hearing out there. Because I know you've been everywhere out there, hearing from your potential constituents. So, what have you been hearing, and what are your thoughts on this just state of politics right now, and how you can help us out here?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we're seeing, honestly, locally, what we're seeing a lot of folks nationally talking about, which is concerns about affordability, concerns about uh, how folks are able to survive in this current economic landscape and live lives of dignity and to thrive and look at their kids and think, oh, you're going to have a better future than I have, and actually believe that in their hearts. And that's something that is hard for a lot of Michiganders to say right now. It's hard for a lot of Americans to say right now. And, we are seeing those same trends here, those same exact conversations here. We're seeing folks, I think what people are really looking for are fighters, people who are not going by what the status quo has been, people who are willing to speak freely while also not speak irresponsibly, which I think we currently have in our state representative. And I think, again, folks are looking for people who actually show up. And that's one thing that we've been working really hard to do, as you kind of referenced there, is to be in as many places as we can, to be at as many events as we can, to talk to as many people as we can. Because I think if you're going to have good representative politics of your community, you have to actually know your community and show up for your community. So that's been a lot of, this stage of our campaign has just been those conversations. And, again, I've been saying this to everybody who will hear me. I have yet to meet a Democratic voter who doesn't support policies like Medicare for all and support bolder, more populist policies. And so, that's something that we are very passionate about as a campaign, and we're going to continue to fight for.
So, what I hear a lot is I have a lot of conservative friends, I have a lot of liberal friends, a lot of moderate friends. So, what I hear, I was just having a conversation with my brother-in-law, who's very uh, conservative, and he said, yeah, I don't want to vote Republican anymore. But what are the Democrats doing? They're really not like. What are they? Who are they? What do they stand for? I know they don't like Trump, and I don't like him either. But what is the message, and who are they getting behind? And I just felt, when he's saying all those things, I just felt, yeah, he's kind of has a point there.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know what to tell him. Honestly, I'm like, just, it's early yet, let's, we're November is the primary. We have to make sure that we take care of business there. But he had a point. So do you hear that kind of talk in your district,
Yeah.
or like people are like, and what are your thoughts on that? And just, what are your just generally your approach and your strategy? Because it's a bigger conversation than just the role, the position you're going for, but it's really just the Democrats in general. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, we're a still relatively small race in the grand scheme of the midterms and all the things going on. Speaking of Christian, who I think you're going to have on next, he was just at a protest here in Niles that I was at, and he's that next rung on the ladder. And so for us, I think we understand our place within the party infrastructure, but you know, even from our point of view, where the party is locally, I think we're at an inflection point. There's a lot of folks who are asking, what is the Democratic Party about? What does it stand for? And the answer that unfortunately a lot of folks are coming to is not really anything. When you talk to, folks that are on the progressive wing of the party, it is that Medicare for all message. It's, what Zoran Mamdani's campaign was able to achieve. And that's, replicated even in more rural areas as well. We're seeing some of these early primaries where folks are working really hard. You have a Graham Plantner over in Maine who's running a great campaign. Kat Abaguzwale, I can't pronounce her last name. I've only
In
seen her
Illinois,
Facebook clips. She's fantastic. She's over in Illinois, running a really, really great campaign. And there's folks that are really doing that work to fight for working people, which is very much what our campaign's message is about, is, fighting for workers, fighting for a system that works for the mass majority of people, not just a handful of donors who honestly have their hands in both parties at some level. But then there's other parts of our party that are dedicating themselves to moderation, and not the type of moderation that I think appeals to unaffiliated voters, but a type of moderation that is in some ways almost like systemic hedging of bets.
Mm.
When I talk to unaffiliated voters, they have wildly disparate opinions that can go anywhere from communism to like far right libertarianism at times. But when you look at issues that progressives are fighting for instance, things like, again, Medicare for all, things like abolishing ICE, things like raising the minimum wage, things that the majority of Americans are agreeing on right now. And yet we have a party that parts of it are starting to catch on, like, hey, we should pursue these pro-worker policies. But that's going to mean we have to win the majority in our party. We have to fight for that party vision, because I think what's hamstrung us at times is not having that clear vision, that clear direction that we want to see the country go in. And it has been heartening to see that start to shift. And we're seeing that especially in this midterm cycle. Candidates like Abdul Al-Sayed come through who are like very clear in clear policy proposals on how they're going to make your lives better. And I think that's what made Trump so effective, is he had very clear, understandable messaging that was mostly lies, but it was very clear and easy to understand. And I think we have to look at that. I'm going to go on a quick thing. Zoran Mamdani's campaign, I think, was a generationally well-run campaign. And I know people are going to say New York is different. Fine, but the campaign is very good. And there's this video he put out that I think is one of the best pieces of political messaging I've ever seen. It's about halal carts in New York City, and how he was able to bridge a very simple civics problem, how food permits are allowed or disallowed by the city, and put out a piece of propaganda that helped folks understand, because of this poorly run government system that I have plans to fix, you're paying $1 or $2 more every single time you buy food in downtown New York. And like, just that very simple, easy to understand issue of like, here's a clear problem, here's an easy solution, and here's why you should care about it. I think we have to really take time to diagnose how we deliver that kind of messaging in 2026, 2028, and moving forward.
Zoran's campaign definitely is
Yeah.
impressive, and also what he's actually been able to achieve has been pretty incredible. Especially, I think, when he met with Trump recently and
Yeah.
basically played him like a fiddle. So that's what we need, right? We need smart candidates who know how to get shit done. Should Hakeem Jeffries and Schumer go?
100%. I think we should be supporting candidates exclusively that are clear about that message. Um, I'm not going to say whether they are, I'm not going to try to judge their character. I'm not going to try to judge their moral compasses. That's not something that's for them and God to figure out. But they are not meeting the moment, and ultimately we're given a moment right now where we need clear opposition to what's happening. And I mean, these are two folks who just walked back masks for ICE agents, who just said, well, masks sometimes when it's really important that they have masks, but otherwise there should be no masks. Like, they can't even stand by a compromised position in this current landscape. I mean, we have, Chuck Schumer, who's saying that his primary goal is to make sure we give money to Israel, and he's more war hawkish on Iran than the Donald Trump administration is right now. Like, these are folks that are ideologically not in line with the party and that are not in line with the base. And we need leaders on the state level and the federal level to be willing to say, hey, you don't represent what folks are asking us to be as a party, and you need to take a step back.
Yeah. So you're part of that wave, I would consider coming in the Democratic Tea Party, let's call
Yeah.
it, right? It's what I've heard it characterized as, and makes sense. Graham Plattner is part of that movement.
Mhm.
AOC, you, Christian. Um, so you mentioned affordability. Obviously, we all know we're paying way more at the grocery store. Every time I go there, it's like over $100. I'm like, what? It's like two people.
Yeah.
So it's we all know this is real. It's not a hoax. We also know that it's going to take a while to maybe get out of this. So
Mhm.
right now, like if you get elected in November and take office, then what are your top three things? Like, what are you going to go after right away? What are the top three on your list?
Yeah. So I think one is we need to be investing locally in our local communities. So, if you have outside developers who are asking for a bunch of tax cuts, if you have outside businesses asking for a bunch of tax cuts, if the taxes are too high for these people to be paying, they're too high for local businesses. They're too high for local developers, for local small business owners. I want to see us reinvesting in our local communities. I think a lot of folks have taken the easy way out and said, oh, well, these big tech companies who will start these data centers, they'll be the ones who revitalize our downtowns. They won't. Big tech has never had the best interest of the American people at the forefront of what they're doing, and they won't this time either. And so that gets to the second thing. We need robust data center regulation in this state. They are looking at us as a prime target. We have the majority of the fresh water in the country right
Mhm.
here in in our state, and it's up to us to protect that natural resource, and to protect again these rural communities and once industrial communities from being taken advantage of. And it's not the fault of a local county or a local city for falling for the lies of these big companies, but we have to step in as the state to have clearer regulation that is across the board, not just tied to specific uh, tax incentives like is currently in our state law. And they need to be harder. They need to push forward more than what our current legislation does. So, for instance, requiring closed loop systems for these data centers is something we can fully do within our current state's capacity. And again, having higher requirements on what these things are required to actually do, tying them directly to green energy development, tying them directly to some of these things, because right now there are just too many loopholes to where we could see ourselves maintain our reliance on natural oil and gas for uh, keeping these things up and running. So that's one. And then education is the other one. We have to focus in on education and invest in education. We supported the Invest in Michigan Kids petition that was going around. I didn't think it went far enough. I think we have to really take some time and look at Michigan's tax code. It's enshrined in our Constitution, and it is so limiting. If you're in Representative Joey's district, he talks a lot about this actually, where there are real limitations to what cities and regions can do when it comes to Michigan tax. And it's one of those things that keep things harder for consumers. So when you look at like property taxes is one of the things people get very upset about right now, for good reasons. It's very difficult, especially if you're on a fixed income. Michigan tax law requires that be a flat tax, whereas other states can do a progressive property tax system. So there are things that it's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be a long-term project, but we have to look at that tax code. We have to find a way to free us up as a state to be able to do things that make more sense for working people inside the state of Michigan, and that includes Medicare for all. But that's also like a huge thing that Representative Ryan Gans has been trying to do for a number of years now. But that is something that, as the state of Michigan, we can also look at and do. So that was more than three, and I apologize for the rambling on it, but there's a
Oh,
lot that has to get done right now in the state of Michigan.
yeah, no doubt about it. So speaking of just, when you look at all of the problems, if you stack them all up, it could make you just lose several nights of sleep. So, like for example, let's take. I know your point to about data centers. Definitely, I'm aligned. I understand where you're going, where you are with that. Um, on the but on the other hand, we also have, AI is coming. I mean, it's here
Mm.
now, and we're going to be at artificial general intelligence in about 3 years, which is
We'll see.
exponentially more powerful. That's what they're saying. That's what they're saying. That's what DeepMind is saying currently.
Yeah, just on that, I remember I was a kid. My dad used to clean office buildings. That was his like business that he started when I was growing up. And I was sitting in a bank building he was cleaning, and I remember seeing an article from this must have been 2002, 2003, where it's like, what was it was an article about the singularity, and people were like, "Oh, it's about to happen. The singularity is about to happen." I think there's a lot of tech hype on this stuff now. Will AI continue to develop and get more robust? Yes, but I I always advise caution on some of the more bombastic claims that these companies like to make.
Mm. Let's assume it is going to be here in 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
Let's just assume it is. At the rate that it's currently progressing, it's more likely than not it'll happen between 3 to 5. Um, do you think Michigan's ready, just in terms of a workforce challenge, and also legislators? Do they really, in your opinion, do you think they really know what's going on? To understand this technology and the implications of workforce displacement, and what are your thoughts on all that? Because let's say 3 to 5 years, it's on us.
Yeah.
What are
Uh,
your thoughts?
Short answer, no. I don't think Michigan is ready. I don't think the country is ready. I, if we were to look at what the worst potential outcomes are of these things, it all has to start with legislation. It all has to start with regulation. These consumer AI products that are being put out into the general marketplace are not responsibly created. They do not have responsible guidelines. I have my partner teaches eighth grade English, and so I get to hear from the front lines of where kids are right now with this stuff. They are using AI chatbots as therapists, and these are the same AI chatbots that have literally caused suicides in this country.
Mhm.
We are looking at these big tech companies that are using these things as a way to gather identifying information, personal information, being used by Palantir for police state nonsense. There's a case in New Orleans where they were using it to do predictive policing. And then when it was revealed to the city council, they shut it down immediately because people were outraged. And believe it or not, predictive policing just means we look at where the police have traditionally arrested people and said, you should patrol there more. And it just happened to target poor communities and communities of color. Um, these technologies can be used for good. We see that in research. We see that especially in medical research, data analytics. These things are
Mhm.
incredibly valuable pieces of technology, and we should not be Luddites about the use of these technologies for these legitimate purposes. But the consumer AI field is an absolute mess and has to be regulated, has to be controlled, has to be tamped down because we have companies that are literally creating these products, selling them to schools, pitching them to schools. I know recently Barry and Risa just had the majority of their professional development courses for their teachers was on how to use AI in classrooms. And it's because these grifters come in and they sell these ideas to schools and they're like, oh, this is going to be great. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be perfect. And what it actually does is it takes away core skills from students. There are kids that can't write properly without the use of Grammarly or whatever these chatbot
Mhm.
things are. And those are skills that you learn that are for free skills that you can learn and develop over time that are being taken away by these big tech companies from students. And that's something we're seeing in colleges with professional fields, kids that are getting degrees that they don't have some of the necessary requirements. They don't have the educational background that folks did even a decade ago because they have these tools that are right at their fingertips. And who wouldn't, if you're at 5 a.m. and you're about to like crash out, you're trying to get a paper written, that temptation is right there to use these types of things. And it's not societally good. And again, there are real privacy concerns, there are real data concerns, and again, the job concerns. I'm a big fan of confiscatory taxation. We should tax billionaires out of existence. It's okay to be 100 something millionaire. You're going to live just as good of a life, if not better, because you'll be more connected to the world around you. These people should not be allowed to become essentially modern day dragons who sit on hordes of wealth and pillage the towns around them. And we have to do everything we can to fight back against that tendency. And that comes from confiscatory taxation, which is why we have to reform our state constitution on that front. And that comes from deep, deep regulation of these AI companies and personal protections that should have been here 2 decades ago, from social media protections, data protections, these things that, people often say, well, you have a cell phone in your pocket, so you shouldn't be that concerned about security. You carry it with you. Well, that cell phone should have more protections than it does currently. Like, there are things that we have to do that are, again, we're talking 2 decades old, that should have been done, that need to be done today, because it is only going to get more vital and more crucial.
Mm-hmm. So, as far as just the education part, so my wife is a second grade teacher, and she teaches at a Title I school. And so, at least at that age, they're still doing things the way they used to do.
Yeah.
When we were in school, when I was in school, even going back even further. But like you're saying, you get into middle school and high school.
Yeah.
This is changing, and also I heard like in some states, they're not even teaching handwriting anymore. I don't know if that's across the board in all the states, but I know, for example, Indiana stopped doing it. I don't think Michigan has. Someone will have to fact check me on that. I'm pretty sure Michigan still requires handwriting. Maybe you know.
I'm not super familiar. You're talking like cursive, right?
Yeah, just like handwriting.
I'm not 100% sure on where that is right now in the state of Michigan.
Yeah. So, I mean, the core problem is that AI does create this bubble where you don't have to interact with humans. You mentioned, having a relationship with a chatbot, and that's only going to get more and more sophisticated in terms of this technology and those relationships as time goes on. And so people become more isolated. And this is not a real world that they're living in. So what do you do when you're like, okay, I'll give you a scenario. You're talking to some younger people, especially, like 30 and younger, and you're trying to have a conversation, and they're all sitting there and they've got their head down looking at their phone.
Yeah.
You're going to be at Democracy Brewing tomorrow, by the way. Plug for Democracy Brewing.
Yes.
Gerik will be there, and we're doing it 6 to 8 tomorrow at Silver Harbor Brewing. So come on out and check that out. But probably won't happen there. But let's say it, you get a question, you start answering, you see people down there looking at their phones. It's like, how do you basically? My point is grabbing attention, right? In the world we're in now, grabbing attention is a challenge, right? So how are you grabbing attention out there? You mentioned Donald Trump, very good at grabbing attention, even though he says what he says is bullshit 99.9% of the time, but he knows how to grab attention. Have you adopted some? And Gavin Newsom, right, is also, I think, very good at grabbing attention.
Both good and bad, frankly.
Yeah, he's sort of mocking what Trump is doing. But Graham Plattner's another one you mentioned, very good at grabbing attention. Hey, let's go ice fishing together, and he did like a whole podcast on ice fishing out in Maine. So, what's your strategy for just grabbing attention, which people want now? You just can't be a politician. You just can't be boring and doing your job in the background. Now it's like, entertain me. It's like all of this seems like, the Trump started. I don't know if we can be able to untangle that quickly. I hope we do.
Yeah.
But what are you going to do about that? Or how are you handling that?
Yeah. So I think we're kind of having two conversations, and I'll try to address both. One is political strategy and how you reach people. And then the other is, how do we bring folks back together, like in person? How do we get folks back, kind of with the education stuff, with all these things? With that, I would say, again, that comes from local investment. We need to be investing in community programs, community spaces, again, creating third spaces within our communities. I do believe that part of that, like, I'm very excited because I do believe we're in a moment where, like, we're going to see a new, like, punk aesthetic develop over these years. And we're kind of seeing it with like some folky elements to it. But I think what we're going to start seeing is, I do believe in the next 5 years, 3 to 5 years, we're going to start seeing companies be like, this product was made AI free. I do think that's going to become a thing because people are searching for real. They're searching for tactile. They're searching for relationships. And that can be messy at times. That can be frustrating at times. But, when I go to spaces that are like these third spaces, so like the Node in downtown Niles, In the summertime, it's bustling. There's a ton of people hanging around. When you go to some of these community festivals, like I, do with my day job and with, I try to get out to as many as I can, people want and are seeking opportunities to connect and re-find each other. And I think, what it gives me hope is human nature will direct us away from some of these antisocial behaviors that these social media companies and big tech companies impose on us. That said, it won't reliably do it for everyone. It definitely affects those who are marginalized the most. So folks that are older and maybe not able to get out as much, you see a lot more online behavior, a lot more toxic online behaviors. Teenagers obviously are stuck with what their parents are going to allow them to do. So you can see some of those behaviors popping up there. But that's where for us, it's up to us to create those community spaces, those community hubs, those community events, those organizations to really get folks back up and active. When it comes to the political messaging side, I'm a firm believer that politics is just professional wrestling, especially in this era,
Yeah.
in this era that we're in. Donald Trump, his entire career, has played a heel. He played a heel on TV with The Apprentice. He plays a heel, and when you watch him, he's playing a heel. Like, he knows what he's doing. And when you look at someone like Mamdani, who's also a big wrestling fan, by the way, which is interesting to me, he plays a face and he knows what he's doing. Like, when he's talking about, Andrew Cuomo on the campaign, he's talking about it in the way that you would see a wrestling promo pop up. Like, he's not afraid to do that. He's not afraid, even as a face, which is a more kind, good guy archetype. He is somebody who's willing to be very aggressive and call things out while maintaining that face. And I think it was really interesting seeing them meet the first time in the White House, because there's a reporter who asked Mamdani, would you still call Trump a fascist or something like that? And Mamdani started his answer and Trump interrupted him and said, it's okay. It's okay. You can call me a fascist. It's fine. Because Trump understands that it's all kayfabe. For him, at least, it's all kayfabe. It's all fake. It's all performance. It's all show. What's good about people like Mamdani, and I would count myself as a step down from I'm not calling myself a generational politician here. I am not. But what's great about Mamdani and the folks that kind of follow in that wing of the party right now, your Grand Plantners, where I would hope to see myself aligned, is you can understand the kayfabe and also believe in things, actually.
Yeah.
And I think he has a really great grasp of that. And that's something we've also tried to grasp onto. Like, some of our videos that we've put out are a little goofy. Some of our videos are meant to be funny, are meant to be a little bit more aggressive than I've seen a lot of campaigns do. And that's because that's how we feel. Like, I don't just want to beat Brad Paquette. I genuinely dislike him deeply as a person, and I want to see him out of office. And that's why we started this race. It is not just I disagree. I'd like to see a blue guy in there. It is, this man is an existential threat to me and people I love.
Mm.
And we are going to do everything we can to get him out of office. And so that is, the heart of what we're doing. Is it's sincere. When we, make fun of him, it's sincere. When we say that he is somebody who is obsessed with trans kids and obsessed with gender to a very weird degree, it's because we watch his social media. We've talked to him in person. We see how he lives in this world and the posture he takes. And it is obscenely weird, the behavior he engages in constantly. Like, I tell people, go to his Facebook right now, type in Brad Paquette on Facebook. There's a 50-50 shot his most recent post is trans kids. That's weird. Even if you are weird, even if you have different opinions than I do about trans people, even if you're on the fence about it or not sure what to think, it's weird that that's one of his main focuses. That's his whole bag. And that shows he's not fighting for you. He's fighting for what the DeVos family wants, and he's fighting for his weird obsession with trans kids. And, that to me is really what this is about, is people are looking for folks that are willing to just call that out and be like, that's weird. That's bad, obviously. Even if, we've had Republicans come up to us and be like, hey, I'm going to vote for you because, even though I don't like trans people, he's not doing anything in office. He's just posting about trans kids. So I hope that answers your question.
Oh, no, it does. It does. I mean, basically, there's a lot of weird out there that we need to remove. So hopefully in November, sounds like we'll take care of it then. But it sounds like you're having fun with this too. And positive, a lot of joy I'm seeing.
Yeah, no,
Thanks.
like we got really invested. I'm a recently got back into football this last year. Grew up a Bears fan, got back into it, and we posted a goofy video after the Bears lost in the playoffs of like, it's okay, but we can still fight for this. Like just again try to have fun with it and be who we are on the campaign trail, and hopefully that resonates with some folks.
Yeah. Well, thanks. Really appreciate your time today, Gerik. Where can people find out, learn more about you?
Yeah, we're
Maverick for
on
Michigan.
Maverick for Michigan on Facebook and Instagram. You can follow us there. We also have our website, maverickformichigan.com, which you can learn a little bit more about us and come to an event, come hang out with us. We're going to be at Democracy Brewing tomorrow, but we do stuff pretty regularly. So we're happy to come hang out. And we'll be at all the, as many of the local protests as we can. We try to be out for all those types of things as well.
There you go, folks, and thanks again for tuning in. We'll have all of the show notes. In the show notes, we'll have Gerik's information so you can follow him and connect with him if you'd like to. And hey, thanks again for your time, and we'll see you at Democracy Brewing tomorrow night.
Yes, we'll see you tomorrow.
All right. Thanks, Gerik.
Yeah, thank you.
Take care.